Hi and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Z Games, Australia's most beloved gaming radio program. Mr. Razor, say something into that microphone.
Hey!
Beside Mr. Razor, Alana Pierce.
Hi.
There she is. Jody McGregor.
Hello.
There he is. And the artist formerly known as Candy Payne, now Wilma Payne. Welcome.
Hi. Anything other than candy?
We'll get into that later on.
We've also got a couple of guys from Halfbrick Studios in the studio with us. Their latest game, Colossatron, dropped late last year, so we'll be talking to Maddie and Peanuts all about that. Lee has been playing the Banner Saga.
That I have.
A controversial game, apparently, as you'll find out if you keep listening to the show.
It may also end up needing to be renamed something.
The Banner Wilma.
Yes.
But without further ado, let's get into this week's gaming news headlines, if you will, Miss Candy Payne.
Thank you, Razor. King.com, the makers of the massively successful Candy Crush saga, has filed an application to trademark the word candy. The US Patent and Trademark Office last week approved the trademark application for publication, meaning that in a few weeks' time, the company will own the word candy for use in relation to computer games and clothing. Benny Hugh, developer of all Candy Casino slots, Jewel Craze Connect, Big Blast Manialand, has received a trademark violation notice from King.com. A spokesperson from the Candy Crush makers said, "We have trademarked the word candy in the EU as our intellectual property is constantly being infringed and we have to enforce our rights to protect our players from confusion. We don't enforce against all uses of candy. Some are legitimate and, of course, we would not ask app developers who use the term legitimately to stop doing so." It also appears that King.com believe they have ownership of the word saga, as they have filed a notice of opposition against the Banner Saga, a PC, Mac and Linux title developed by Stoic Games. Whoa!
So how does that grab you, Wilma?
Yeah, super. Ridiculous.
I just can't believe it passed.
Yeah.
Who decided that was a good idea?
I just can't believe that in the history of the world, nobody has trademarked the word candy. Has it not been used
a rubbish
for anything?
thing to do?
Yeah.
Has
Most
it not
good
been
people
used
would
for
not.
anything else? I just feel like all American candy companies are now just stressing that they can no longer have merchandise with the word
And
candy
Aaron
on
Carter.
a shirt or something.
He totally had a song called about candy.
I googled it. There's like 11 songs with my name in it, but you know,
Your old name.
And only 10 of them are
my
about
old
her.
name. Well, I'm not going to have any clothing merchandise with my name on it anymore. Rubbish.
I find it kind of ironic that of the three words Candy Crush Saga, the only one that they're not pursuing is Crush.
As far as we know so far.
Yeah. A leaked legal agreement has revealed that YouTube creators belonging to the Machinima network were allegedly given incentive payments to promote the Xbox One in their videos. The campaign offered a bonus payment of $3 per 1,000 views on top of their normal payment. To qualify for the bonus, the agreement stipulated that the YouTuber verbally mentioned that they are playing an Xbox One and that they make no negative remarks about the Xbox One. The agreement also contained a non-disclosure clause forbidding the YouTuber from disclosing the terms of the agreement. In addition to being ethically unsound, the US Fair Trade Commission makes it clear that all financial endorsements must be disclosed to the consumer, meaning the agreement is potentially illegal as well. As Microsoft spokesperson said, Microsoft was not aware of individual contracts Machinima had with their content providers as part of this promotion. We have asked Machinima to not post any additional Xbox One content as part of this media buy, and we have asked them to add disclaimers to the videos that were part of this program, indicating they were part of paid advertising.
This is a little bit funny that they've asked Machinima not to post any additional Xbox One content as part of this because they had a cap set for 1.28 million views and already reached that in 2 days.
Wow.
So they already paid off the $3,000, which was their limit. So now they're like making it sound like they're the good guy. And we're like, no, stop, Machinima, because we've already paid all of the money we offered.
We've run out of Doritos. Stop.
This is really bad because I don't know about you guys, but I actually trust my YouTube dudes, you know? Like the guy who I refer to for my movie reviews. If I found out that he was getting money from the movie companies to say yes or no about a movie, I would be mortified.
I feel like this is a little bit different only because they aren't actually being paid to say anything good. They're being paid not to say anything bad. So they're not actually manipulating anyone. I certainly would not accept that money, but I don't think it's as bad as it could be or is as bad as most people are making it out to be. Also, EA has been found to do the same thing.
I'd just like to point out that I'm perfectly open to being bribed, so if there are any big developers listening and right now, please send me your Doritos and your Mountain Dew.
A large number of PlayStation 4 users have been affected by a bug that corrupts the save files of games such as Battlefield 4, FIFA 14 and Assassin's Creed 4. A Sony rep said, "We are aware of the cases and we appreciate your patience while we investigate." Dun dun dun. I don't know, I feel like we hear this stuff all the time.
Yep. All right, that's it for the news. Next up, we'll be chatting to Maddie and Peanuts from Halfbrick Studios. And you're listening to Z Games. The guests that we have in the studio are from a company called Halfbrick Studios, who, of course, anyone with a mobile phone will know are the developers of games such as Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride, Fish Out of Water, and most recently Bandstars and Colossatron. Fruit Ninja recently hit 500 million downloads, and they're definitely approaching household name status all over the world. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Maddie Knight and Peanuts from Halfbrick Studios. Hey guys.
Hi. How you doing? It's good to be back.
Peanuts, you are the community coordinator at Halfbrick Studios. You're the dude on the Twitter account.
Yep, that's right.
And Maddie, you had a bunch of roles in Colossatron. Can you tell us what you had to do with that game?
Yeah, so I started as an artist at Halfbrick, but I do a lot of design now as well. And on Colossatron specifically, I did some voice acting, so that was interesting.
That's pretty cool that you're a voice actor.
Yeah, who were you?
Yeah, who were
I was the news announcer.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Can you give us your best news announcer voice?
I was really hoping this wouldn't happen.
Obviously, it was going to happen.
Hello! It looks like Colossatron is destroying everything!
That's amazing.
It is
he acted like he didn't want to do that, and then he just totally
Left into it. Yeah.
That's right. I was prepared.
Well, how about you tell us about Colossatron in your own words, Maddie?
Well, I guess it's a little bit hard to explain, but it's kind of a match 3 game, but strategic. What do you say, Peanuts? How would you describe it?
It is very unique.
Yeah.
I would say that it's essentially a match 3 puzzle game that takes place on the back of a giant robotic snake from outer space.
Yeah. Also like a tower offense kind of game, if that's a kind of game. But yeah.
The cool thing about Colossatron really is that, unlike a lot of other games, you actually get to be the bad guy. So this giant kind of monster crash lands on a planet, and then from there your goal is to basically just destroy everything and cause as much damage as you possibly can. So really good fun.
So you use your finger to slot in segments of the Colossatron that appear on the map, and then you can also there's a color coding system as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. So different colors represent different weapons, and if you put a red segment next to a yellow segment, they'll combine into orange, which is a different kind of weapon. So there's a lot of strategy in what colors you use, and it's kind of what weapons they form, and you want to build the best kind of mobile
rolling
fortress. Yeah, you can put 3 of the same color together. They upgrade. You can do that twice to get a sort of tier 3 piece, which is super powerful.
Yeah,
and then there's power-ups and other things on top of that.
As you're playing, basically you're trying to defend against waves of enemies that are being sent at you from General Mustache, who's kind of the leader of the army. And yeah, it gets really chaotic really quickly. So the strategy comes into play when you kind of just laying the foundation for the later sieges and just really trying to survive as long as possible.
It's interesting to me that you mentioned that it's a match 3 game right up, whereas the game itself presents itself as this, it is very story heavy. You do seem to be in control of this massive beast as it's destroying a city, and it comes across as being a bit more Rampage like. So I'm just wondering, what design element came first? Did you guys go, well, we want to make a match 3 style of thing, or did you say, we've got this this great idea for a giant monster? Where did that?
It sort of happened at the same time. The original concept had both of those elements. I think that there was definitely more of a focus on the element of destruction and sort of that Saturday morning cartoon fun, cheesiness. The match 3 thing, well, it kind of is a match 3 game, but at the same time, it's not real. I mean, it's nothing like Bejeweled or Candy Crush or anything like that. So using match 3 is a bit deceiving, I guess. But definitely our focus was on kind of just, it had to be a fun game with lots of explosions and things. And the fact that it was match 3, well, that was a bit incidental, I guess.
I've noticed a trend in some of Halfbrick's games, and that is like Fruit Ninja, you destroy fruit. Jetpack Joyride, you destroy everything. And in this game, you just destroy cities. Is everyone at Halfbrick okay?
Yeah.
We're not violent serial killers, that's for sure. I don't know, Fish Out of Water was pretty chilled, right?
Yeah,
just
very
throwing
chill.
fish and you don't harm them in any way during that process. So
Yeah. That didn't sell as well, though, did it? So, yeah, I don't know what that says. But, yeah, I don't know. We just like kind of action and explosions. And
I think those types of games kind of just lend themselves more to a touchscreen device, which is why that's what we do.
Maddie, you worked in several different areas of the Colossatron game.
Yeah.
A voice actor, a designer, and an artist, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
How do you get involved in so many aspects of the production? Were you just in the right place at the right time?
Well, we have pretty small teams, actually. It was, about 6 or 7 people that worked on Colossatron. It took us about a year to make it. And most of us kind of wear a few different hats. We all just like making games. Some of us do just code, and some of us do art. But there's a few of us that do kind of more than one thing. And I think there's actually a lot of people at Halfbrick that are a bit like that, where they have like lots of different things that they can do.
Yep.
And we don't have enough people there to kind of specialize, like, oh, you're an environmental artist or an animator or anything like that. You've kind of got to do lots of different things.
Is that based off of actual qualifications, or is it really just if you want to try something new, you're given the opportunity to be able to try it?
You're pretty much given the opportunity to try it. I was hired as an artist, and when I first started there at Halfbrick, that's pretty much all I did. But I started with Halfbrick Fridays. I don't know if you've spoken about that before. That was an initiative where every Friday we would, or some Fridays, we would make our own kind of games, like a game jam. Yeah, through that process, I sort of stepped, I guess, a lot more into design.
Which games were born out of the Friday sessions?
Fruit Ninja was originally a Halfbrick Friday game.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's well before I started.
I don't think... Yeah, Colossatron wasn't. I can't think of any others, actually. Age of Zombies was. There might have been a couple I'm forgetting. There were some smaller games that we did release on, like PSP Minis and Xbox Live indie games, like Echoes and Blast Off and Aero Races. Yeah. I don't know. They were pretty small time, but they were a lot of fun to make.
Hello and welcome back to Z Games. We are talking to 2 gentlemen from Halfbrick Studio, Peanuts and Maddie, about their new game Colossatron World Threat.
Massive World Threat.
Massive World Threat, I'm sorry.
Massive.
You know,
I forgot that the snake is a massive snake.
If you don't mind me derailing you briefly, Jody, I think that title deserves like a really thunderous voice to say it. Maddie, you're a voice artist.
No. I did my one line. That was it.
Oh, okay.
No, Candy, you deliver it.
Nah. No, because I always get picked on for doing voices, and I'm never any good.
Okay, well, we'll keep putting the pressure on off air. But in the meantime, why don't we talk about Band Stars, which is the other game that you guys released in December?
Yeah, sure. So Band Stars was developed in conjunction with 6 Foot Kid, which is a studio from Adelaide. And originally it was a game on Google Plus Games, so the web. Mm-hmm. And basically we'd done some work with a kind of like their parent company, PRA, the People's Republic of Animation. And through that existing relationship, we ended up making a game, which was Band Stars. And now it's on mobile. So it's essentially a music management game where you get a group of musicians, just a garage band, and from there your goal is to kind of make it big and become global superstars.
So what kind of decisions do you get to make about the band? Do you get to, fire drummers, tell them, be more glam?
You do, yeah.
You get to give them a goofy name.
Excellent.
Good.
And each musician has different stats, pros and cons and all that sort of stuff. So it's about kind of finding different musicians and then really mixing and matching different genres and lyrics, upgrading your not your weapons. Going back to the
Instrument.
I'm still in Colossatron mode. Non-violent studio, by the way. Upgrading your instruments, but you could have a guitar, which is like an axe, right? So yeah, and basically try and grow your fan base and your money in the process, and it's just really good casual pick up and play fun.
Yeah, I was confused because you get to... I've been playing this, and I've auditioned some musicians, and, my band is called Nuts, and it's great. It's awesome. I didn't know that I was going to have to put a band name in, and it was like midnight when I was playing, so Nuts was the quickest thing I could type out. Anyway,
Stuck with it now.
So I'm stuck with it now. But the first purchase I made was a spa. I didn't know how that fit in. I was a bit confused, and then this spa's just dropped in the middle of my rehearsal room. It's awesome.
Oh, because what do you do if you're a famous musician? You buy a spa and then you chill out. That's how you unwind.
Yeah.
Playing music is hard work. So.
But if you're an amateur musician just starting from the very bottom, is a spa the wisest investment?
You've got to dream big, man. You've got to dream big.
Yeah, I've sold like 27 million records already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
What about the music in the game? Who did that for you guys?
A lot of the music was done
Jesse
by...
did that, right?
It was, our two sound guys. We have two dedicated sound guys, so Cedar and Jesse, and I'm not sure if they did all the music, but they did a lot of it, and there are a heap of different genres as well, so I think for them it was really fun. Reggae, pop, rock, metal, pretty much you name it, it's in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if they've got sub-genres, like kind of, your black metal and your post-metal and all that sort of stuff.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's also more that the songs are in that style. It's not that your band only ever plays like metal music. It's that every song that you release, you kind of have to match up a genre.
right.
So I might be picking a punk song and then I have to decide the theme. So do I want to write a punk song about love or loss or rebellion? So obviously rebellion. And then the fans love it because they can associate. So that's where the genres come in, so that's been the fun part.
Is there anything you can tell us about upcoming Halfbrick projects, or is that strictly under wraps?
I know that we're already working on an update for Colossatron to address some of the feedback that we received, so one of the things we're going to try and do is add some more weapons for sure, and also just kind of explain those mechanics a little bit better. One of the things we found is that some people were probably a little bit confused by that. But once people got past that, they love it and they stay there for a long time. So just making little tweaks here and there. Jetpack Joyride has been a big focus for us. That's still doing incredibly well. It's probably one of our highest performing games still, even though it's fairly old now. So new content for that, Fruit Ninja, lots of updates, and then we're always working on other things on the side as well, which unfortunately I can't talk about.
I noticed that Monster Dash was recently re-released on the PS Vita.
Oh, that was Age of Zombies, yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
Same guy though, Barry Steak Fries.
Yeah, with the dual thumbsticks, it really added an extra dimension to the gameplay.
Yeah, well, I think that game was always designed as a dual stick shooter, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But it only took 4 years to actually get real dual stick controls.
Yeah.
So this is basically the way the game was always meant to be played, and I think the guys that originally designed it are pretty happy about that as well. Cool. So yeah, that's fun.
So I guess the definitive version then. Yeah.
Halfbrick has a really, really solid portfolio of mobile games. You guys have, Fruit Ninja was one of those, early successes, I guess. What do you think it takes to make a good game for a mobile platform these days? To make a game that has
you're
some
the designer,
longevity?
Man, that is a tricky question. If I knew the answer to that, oh man. I think it takes a good idea and then a good execution and then like a heap of luck, like honestly. We were there kind of at the right time and saw that this market growing and Luke Muscat, the designer of Fruit Ninja, had this idea of a really simple, accessible game that could have some depth and was going to be fun for we say to play on the toilet, but like waiting for a bus or anything also applies. So kind of if it fits that criteria, then it could be a good fit to become really popular.
I think the other thing worth mentioning is that the App Store and mobile gaming in particular is just becoming a lot more competitive now. So you're seeing a lot of AAA developers move away from console games and enter this market. So in the past where, it was more about word of mouth and that sort of thing, you also need to... a lot of studios rely on, paid user acquisition and that sort of thing, which is not something we do ourselves. We're lucky in that we kind of beat everybody else to it, and we don't need to do that. But yeah, that's where the trends are heading, I guess.
In the news this week, we heard earlier that King.com are being very savage about their copyright thingos. It is a real big deal that these apps get copied by copycat makers and stuff. Have you ever considered trademarking fruit?
You're probably talking to the wrong person. I wouldn't be surprised if our CFO thought about it, but I think in general, I don't think that was ever really a consideration.
Yep.
Fruit Ninja is the game that's like, if we said, have you played Fruit, most people probably wouldn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
So
there's been plenty of Fruit Ninja clones that have come and gone. But yeah, I think it's a bit silly. I don't think we would ever do that.
Yep. So you guys aren't as vigilant as defending yourself from those clones, I guess?
I think if there's like a particularly kind of obvious copy, then we do ask them to remove it. But I think like Veggie Samurai is still available for purchase. So
I think we're lucky in that kind of most people know that they're copycat games and they're not as interested. So
yeah,
people tend to go for the authentic kind of like original game. And if they like force us to up our game in the process, then that's fine. We'll just have to keep improving. Otherwise, they'll download the other one.
Yeah,
that's true.
Veggie Samurai, that's hilarious. I can't get over that.
He'll be laughing the whole way home.
All right, we're talking to Maddie and Peanuts from Halfbrick Studios. We're going to hear a track now. You're listening to Z Games. Now, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Maddie, but I have a very humble request. You were a voice actor on Colossatron. Can I just ask you, can you say something like, "This is Rick Dalton, and you're watching Z Games," or something? Listening to Z Games?
Are they watching us? Should have done my hair, damn it.
Man. Hello, this is Rick Dalton, and you're listening to Z Games.
Nice, great.
You nailed it, man.
That's real good.
Thank you so much.
Until Razor laughed at the end.
Oh, did I ruin it?
Yeah. You can scrub that out. That's fine.
Hey, Colossatron came out for the Android and iOS simultaneously. Was that a lot of effort for you guys?
Because it was. Yeah. It's actually pretty hard to develop for iOS and Android at the same time. If you're using something like Unity or something, a pre-existing engine that already supports it, it's pretty easy. But because we were using our own in-house engine, it's actually pretty hard to keep those two builds on parity. So yeah, I think this is the first time we've ever done that, right?
Yeah, and the other thing I think with Android as well is that there are just so many different devices, operating systems. If you look at something with Apple devices, most people tend to upgrade to the new OS whenever it comes out, but that's not necessarily the case with Android. So it's just about trying to support as many different devices as possible. And also, Colossatron has a lot going on. So there are crazy amounts of detail on the screen as well.
Actually, that's a good point. It does have a lot going on. And I'm still only playing it on a phone-sized screen. When you're designing this, are you assuming that most people would be playing it on something a little bit bigger, like an iPad, like tablet size? Or do you try and cram it into a phone size?
We tested on both, and we designed kind of for both at the same time. So, it should still be fun and playable on a phone, but yeah, I think Colossatron in particular probably does play better on a tablet. But yeah, we tested it on like heaps of devices, and there's kind of our testing room where our QA guys work. They've got heaps of Android devices in there, and we've got to go through all of them, and one will have a really weird bug, and so you've got to... It's pretty time-consuming process.
Can you expand on this fabled Halfbrick testing room? It sounds like the funnest place on earth.
It's small. It's pretty hot, sweaty.
Stuffed by Oompa Loompas?
I wouldn't call them that.
Is it lit at all?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Magical place, yeah. No, it's okay. It's very messy.
Yeah, I think people always kind of have a misconception when it comes to QA, that they just sit there and play games all day. which is only half true. And you're playing broken games, right? That are still being developed, and it would be so frustrating playing a game and you're really enjoying it, and then all of a sudden there's a crash, and then there's all the documentation. So it's hard work, but it's also fun.
And you play one game for 6 months or so. Yeah.
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 So if they don't like the game, they'll tell us pretty quickly. Yeah.
All right, guys. Does anyone else have any questions for the Halfbrick gents while we have them here?
Can I come and hang out with you? Your place sounds really cool.
Oh, anytime, yeah. Anytime. Come around on Friday night. Yeah.
Awesome. They said it live. They have to do it now.
Guys, Maddie and Peanuts, thanks so much for joining us on Z Games. Yeah, Colossatron and Bandstars are out now for iOS and Android.
Yep, so Bandstars is on iOS at the moment and hopefully coming to Android. Colossatron, you said already, so yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep.
It's been great.
Absolutely our pleasure. Now, Lee, you have been playing a game called The Banner Saga.
Yes,
It's
yes.
available on Steam for the PC, Mac, and Linux.
That's right.
Tell us all about it, man.
It was a Kickstarter project, actually. Stoic, who produced it, are a handful of guys who fell out of BioWare and decided that the first thing that they would do would be make a really, really, really Nordic turn-based tactical RPG game. And make it look like a kind of Ralph Bakshi style of animated film as well. It's an astonishing thing to look at and to experience, and it's a strange game to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about the gameplay itself? Can you describe that for me?
The gameplay is divided into two components. One part of it is kind of it's a little bit like a one of those choose your own adventure style of fighting fantasy games where you are in charge of a caravan that's traveling across this fantasy Nordic environment, and you have to make decisions every couple of minutes based on very little information at all, and then you just deal with the results of that. So the story is delivered in these chunks. Sometimes it'll be bits of conversation, other times it's just a little scenario where you have to make your decisions, and then that is then balanced out by the second half of the game, which is this grid-based, turn-based tactical game, a little bit like sort of Final Fantasy Tactics, a bunch of other things, and each game kind of interacts with the other, but they're also sort of a little bit incongruous as well. So you have your main cast of characters, the band of people that you've gathered over the course of this adventure, and you'll discover that there's some enemies that you have to fight in the story section, and then you go into the tactical map in order to fight that out, and maybe someone, one of your team will die in that tactical battle where you have direct control over what's going on. And that death is your fault, right? But they're fine in the story, and then the story will advance a little bit further, and then in the midst of that sort of the story stuff, that character could die anyway, and it feels a bit strange to have these gameplay elements where your tactical stuff is affected by this narrative structure stuff. In a way where you don't really have any control over that, and I feel like it's a strange oversight. But
it almost sounds pointless.
Yeah. No, that's kind of how I felt actually a couple of times. There was a character that I went to a lot of trouble to protect in the first tactical battle that this young kid turns up in, and he survived. And I was like, great, because I was warned that he could be at risk because he's just this teenager who's suddenly forced into a war, and then suddenly there's this little bit of story, and another character is under threat, and I made a decision to shout out to rescue her, and this other kid runs in and saves her but dies himself in the course of that, and I kind of felt cheated, because I had been told to look after this kid. And in every way that I could as the player, I did. I looked after him in the fight that I was told to look out for him in. And then in this section where I had no real control, he just dies anyway. And
so it's like you're being punished for things that you didn't realize were wrong.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
Or like it's a sneaky way to build emotion.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, it does suit the tone of the game, which is very, very bleak.
That's the same thing that happened in Final Fantasy VII, though.
That's true.
You know, Aerith was killed in a cutscene. You
Wait.
had no control.
Whoa,
Spoiler alert! Yeah.
1997.
I haven't played
man.
it. I honestly haven't played it.
That was 16 years ago. I'm sorry to anyone who hasn't played the game yet.
I'm waiting for the HD re-release.
God.
Yeah.
You'll be waiting a while.
So what are some of the other things that you actually have to do, like the decisions that you make during the story elements of the game? Is it like Mass Effect style moral decision kind of thing, or is it all about keeping people alive and not starving to death?
I think it is more about keeping people alive and not starving. You've got a caravan, and you're traveling across the wastes, trying to protect this royal heir in this Nordic world full of giants and these sea creatures called the Dredge that have just risen up to try and take over. And it's very, very bleak, and it's really captivating. And so, yeah, you make these decisions based on, say, there was one where there was a guy who was drunk and who was being disorderly, and he started a fight. And the first time you deal with him, you can punish him, or you can just sort of, lay off and be a bit easy, or you can just throw him out of your crew altogether. And then from that, there will be consequences. So, if you keep him on board and if you don't chastise him, he might continue to drunkenly act out until you have to make a more permanent decision there. And so this can affect your standing with your party. This can affect your renown. It can alter the resources that you have as well. So it's generally, stuff happens as you're traveling. As you are trying to keep this group together. And, it does seem a little bit unfair, but at the same time, it's very, very, in keeping with this atmosphere that they're trying to build.
Just to paint a picture here, what is it actually, what is involved in the gameplay of you traveling? Are you like driving? Are you walking?
It's... When you're traveling, you're watching your party as they travel along. It's very linear, actually. But it disguises that by having the story side of things feel like a very, very densely crafted visual novel. So you're just watching your party as they travel across the landscape, and there's a lot of beautiful parallax effects with the 2D art that they've got going on. And then suddenly there'll be a big chunk of text that comes up. You have three choices. And you pick one, and then who knows what's going to happen? Generally something bad, because it's awful. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to cut your review a bit shortly, but we are talking about the Banner Saga, which is available on Steam for PC, Mac, and Linux. Could you just sum up the game, or tell us if you recommend it to anyone in like 30 seconds?
Yeah, look, it's gorgeous. It's very, very interesting. Maybe once I finish it, I'll be able to give a proper recommendation. But I think you're not going to find a turn-based tactical game like this that looks like this on the PC at the moment. It's very, very different. It's bleak, but it's fun and it's beautiful.
And get it before the word saga is trademarked and you won't know what you're looking for.
Good point.
Awesome. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of Z Games, guys. As usual, thank you very much for listening. A few things before we go. We'd like to direct you to our various online resources, such as our blog, which is zgamesau.net.
We're really exciting, we promise.
Yep.
Facebook.
Yep.
We're on iTunes and stuff.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's about it. All right. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. This has been Z Games, recorded live in Brisbane on 4ZZZ and heard nationally thanks to the Community Radio Network. For more information on the show and to join the Z Games community, head to our website, zgamesau.net. That's spelt Z-E-D, or send us an email at contact@zgamesau.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Z Games is produced with the assistance of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.